Derek wasn't here. You read it.
No, just joking. It's too long. Go ahead.
Mayor, you want to start us off? Kyle, the fact that Deebo, you indicated Deebo, you expected him to be here. The fact that he is here, observing practice, is that a sign that the relationship has at least been mended a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's always been all right. I mean, I know we go through the business part of this league and things like that, but I mean, I don't think the relationship was ever too far away to not get it back to normal, and I think we're working on that. Anytime you're away from each other for a while, that's always harder, but it's good to get him back in here and start getting him around the guys again.
He rescinded his trade request, and are the two sides, trading numbers? Are negotiations active right now?
I mean, they always talk. I mean, I'm not going to get into that, and you guys can ask Deebo to speak for himself on that, but I mean, love our relationship with Deebo, and hopefully that'll help us be able to solve this contractually before we get to the season.
Have you personally had an opportunity to sit down with him one-on-one in the last couple of days?
Not in the last couple of days, but yeah, I have. Yeah.
Kyle, you've said, and Deebo said, that you guys always have had a good relationship. What's it like for you? Is it a delicate situation for you, knowing that management and Deebo have business to talk about, and you have a personal relationship with him that you want to keep intact?
No, I don't think so. I don't think my personal relationships ever get in line with what I do for a living. It's personal. You have to have personal relationships to coach people and to get the most out of people. One, because not just players, but everyone in a building. So I think everyone does that, but you're also not just trying to collect friends. I mean, you got a job to do, and no one's ever worried about that aspect with me. That's why it's, to me, easy for me to be myself with the guys and have a relationship, because I also never steer away from what my job is.
No, I know you can't get deep into the specifics, but when you said you didn't think the relationship was ever maybe all that bad, I mean, some of his actions, most notably requesting a trade to leave the team, would indicate they weren't great. I mean, why do you say they weren't?
I go off of when I think of a relationship with someone that has to do with him and me, not statements, not Instagram, not people repeating stuff. It has to do with the words that come out of my mouth to a man and him back to me, and nothing else. And that's never been a problem with me and him.
Nick Bosa was here looking like Nick Bosa. What kind of, did you get a chance to look at him? And is he involved in contract talks as well, since?
No, we haven't been doing that yet with Nick. Just that's how both sides are going at it now. But and not too concerned with it. I fully expect Nick Bosa being here for a very long time. But seeing him for the first time in a while, Nick always takes care of himself as good as any athlete I've ever been around. And he had a good Florida tan seeing him yesterday. His quads are still huge, and he's ready to play football whenever it's time to go.
Okay. Negotiations haven't started with him? Is that accurate?
Maybe. No, yeah, they haven't. I'm sure that's a big, I don't know, that's a big tweet or something, but no.
It's notable, maybe.
So,
What do you like about Jake Brendel, and has he always been sort of a factor in your planning for the center position, even before you knew for sure what was happening with Alex?
I mean, Jake made our team last year as our backup center, and if you do that, you better believe that. I mean, all backup guys, you got to believe, have the ability to start. And then when they get that opportunity, how long can they do it for? But we had a lot of confidence in Jake last year to make the team. And if Mac would ever missed a game or something, we wouldn't have hesitated. And we would have gone to that game very confident with him. We knew Mac retiring was a chance, was hoping he won it. And, it kind of went all the way up into free agency and stuff like that. And we don't want to make a big thing and go chase stuff, especially with a player that we've had in here who has done a good job, and he's shown us in here that he can do it. We also have guys like Brunskill who's done it before, and I think we have some young guys who can do it. So we're in this situation, we knew Mac had a chance to leave, but you don't want to make that risk. Just stockpiling other players when you can do that at other positions, especially when you guys have some guys in-house we believe can do it. And we got to work them hard throughout OTAs, throughout training camp, and we'll come up with the best guy, and then you'll see how long you can do it over the year.
How much can you learn at this point in the process during OTAs and minicamp about offensive linemen, particularly interior guys, without pads coming on. Like, what are you looking for at this time of year?
Personally, I don't think the pads change anything in terms of run blocking. And, you know, it would on pulling guards and powers and stuff like that. But when you're doing the outside zone and things and reaching people and how you play with your hands, it's about protecting your face and shoulders. But you can't see much of it because we don't do as much work at that as we used to. So you get an idea with all the individual drills and things like that, and we've seen him in the past, so we know what he can do. And you're really just preparing guys as much as you can in OTAs to have a chance to get as good as they can in training camp.
Jake, the signing him go back to his relationship with Chris in Miami?
Brought him to our attention, just him having him in Miami. He was a big fan of his there. We got him in, I believe, during the COVID year. He had some things that he opted out, you know, went right down to that last minute. And so we were able to get him back. And last year was our first year with him. And, yeah, Chris talked highly of him, and he's been better than advertised.
That stood out to me in 16 when he came out of college. He had some amazing athleticism metrics. So I'm guessing, is he a guy that you see able to execute the more difficult blocks in your run scheme?
Yes, he's wired to do it. And, you know, and then he's wired to do it, and then it's about staying healthy and being able to adjust each week to some of the guys you got to go against. And that comes with some experience, but I think he's ready for his opportunity, and he's getting a chance to compete with some guys, and hopefully by getting that and getting those reps, he'll only get better.
Has there been conversations, Kyle, about going out and getting a veteran center, or are you confident right now?
Sorry.
Have there been conversations internally about going out and getting a veteran center, or are you guys happy with the group you have, or like kind of
take in everything? And so we have a conversation about every position. So you know all the veterans out there, you know the guys who got a chance to pay to come in, you got, you know, guys who have a chance to come in and be at the back of your roster. And so you're looking at it at every spot. I know Max announcing his retirement is big news to everyone. We've had an idea about it for a while, so we've been looking at all situations, and right now we feel like we're doing the best one for us.
We're going to talk to Brian Schneider tomorrow. What was it about him that, you know, led to his being hired? You've got a bit of a background with him at UCLA, right?
I had GA'd at UCLA for 6 months, and he was there, and I would have stayed there longer. They didn't kick me out of school. No, don't write that. No, but Schneider was awesome there. He was one of the first coaches I was around, and just the energy and the person. Didn't know a ton about football then, but I just knew that I liked that type of guy. And then going against him over the years at Seattle, and I think he was there 10 years, and I just always thought they were the best team that we went to in that area, the most prepared in that area, and played very physical. And so when you know a person and you know from watching the tape and the experience that he's good at what he does, I thought it was a perfect fit, and it's been great so far.
Is there a plan for D Ford?
I believe he's going to come in. He's been excused from minicamp. I think he's coming in to get his physical later in this week, but no, he's not doing anything with us.
And then Danny Gray was using a Theragun in his hamstring. Is he going with him?
His hamstring last week in OTAs. That's why he was out this week, and he'll most likely be out next week.
Have you gotten updates on where Jimmy Garoppolo, in his rehab, and how close is he to throwing, and what was the thought process of just telling him to stay away this week?
All his rehab is down in LA, so for him to stop it to come up here for a 3-day minicamp doesn't make much sense for him or for us. So we want him to stay with his rehab. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a real risky surgery or anything, so I think it just takes time. So I think the plan still has always been July, but I know there's no concerns with it, and he'll be throwing sooner than later.
His thumb, did that fully heal? Did you know? And did he ever require any procedure on that?
Yeah, nothing with the thumb.
If you guys don't trade Jimmy before training camp, do you expect him to be here practicing?
Yes, I do.
You wouldn't excuse him? Like, that's not the plan?
I'll think about that when that day comes, but Jimmy's under contract with us, and he's healthy. Right now, I would see him coming to practice, unless we traded him.
Is D Ford coming in for the physical a precursor to you guys releasing him, or is he going to retire?
Sure, I think, I know that we've gotten a good bill of health from his doctor saying how good he is in the spot. We're going to check him out with our physical. Do not expect him to be on our team, but those are the three options that could happen.
What's important from the quarterback when you're repping red zone, and what did you see from Trey there today?
They had a good day today. It's always tough down there, especially when we just did 7-on-7. So when you don't have the threat of a run, it's very tight in that area. So you want very aggressive precision passing. without ever turning it over, because you already got 3 points. And from a whole group, I thought today was our best day offensively down there.
With Trey, I know there's been much made of his motion and all that stuff, but how much work was done on keeping his head stable? Was that a focus for you guys this offseason, just limiting head movement?
I mean, when he's throwing? I guess. I look where their eyes are going, moving coverages and stuff. When you're just throwing a football on air, there's lots of things to get out of that and stuff, which guys work on. Mainly quarterbacks work on that stuff away from their coach. That's like little things. But when they're with us, it's about playing the game. It's about how to get the ball out on time, how to not take a sack, how to move coverages, where to look with your eyes, things like that. But those are things real detailed quarterbacks never stop doing. I mean, you watch guys like Tom Brady, and I feel like he tweaks his throwing motion for the last 20 years every year, and that's why he finds a way to get it stronger at 40 than he had at 30. And the good ones are obsessed with that, and that's something that really never stops.
With Trey over the last months, just in terms of confidence and command of the huddle, how have you seen him grown, and what changes have you seen?
I think just having these OTA practices has been really good, because I mean it's about getting reps and going out there. And I feel like for the first couple of days, Trey, along with everybody else, they're trying to win the day, which to me, that doesn't help you that much. You really got to own in on getting better. The defense you're going against, they know the offense, and you can't try to really just go for the big plays. You got to play with your fundamentals and improve with every rep you have, because you don't get many reps of playing this game, and you get them fully in the preseason, and that's about it. So before it really counts, and I think Trey's been deliberate in everything he's done. I think especially last week heading into today, you can really see him stacking days and getting better each practice.
Feels like Juwan Jennings really kind of coming into his own. How's confidence from you as a play caller when you watch him play?
I'm extremely confident in Juwan. I think if anyone watched our games at the end of last year, not many people covered him. He got open. He had aggressive hands. He got up the field. He blocked well. Juwan was a guy we had a lot of hope for coming into stuff. He had some setbacks with injuries, but once he got healthy and he got his opportunity when Mo went down last year, he took off. And this offseason, him and BA, the first day they got here, they've had as good an offseason as they've had since they got in the league, and they're as good as they've been right now, both of them.
His body type is so much different than the other two guys.
It's all how you use it. And he does have a bigger body, but he plays big. He's fearless going over the middle. But that doesn't matter if he can't separate. And what's cool about Juwan, he's got some unique running styles, but just watch him. He separates more than probably all the other guys.
Brandon Ayuk spoke about being one of the leaders in that group just because he and Juwan were the only two guys that have been in your system before. Have you seen that from him, that leadership?
I have. I've seen it by those two very strongly, and how they've been each other year. I think them both being in the league for 2 years and going through that. It's also different. I didn't realize till you get with some of these guys, like none of these guys really had off seasons. Their first off season was COVID. There was none. The second one was a half COVID off season where we had I think we had 4 days before OTAs, and then it was so much shortened. And so no one really knows who've been here for two or 3 years. And those guys to come in this year, to come in at the beginning, this is by far the best I've seen them at this time. And I think that's allowed them to be kind of leaders. They knew what they were doing. They were in shape. They're able to talk to other guys, know how much they maybe went into training camp or the season a little unprepared, just from lacking experience. And you can see that experience has led them to prepare this offseason so much better. And that's why their game's a lot better. And it's cool for other guys to see that.
Take 3 more.
You're having joint practices with the Vikings?
Yeah.
Kind of like typical 2 days?
I don't think much in advance, especially with schedules. It's written down somewhere. I think we'll probably take 2 days off before whenever we play, and then we'll practice 2 days before that.
What's Charvarius Ward? We didn't see him on the field or practice last week or today. What's going on with him?
We're just being smart with him. Well, he's done some real good work. He's been awesome, and we're just taking it easy with him right now.
Last year you canceled the minicamp. I think that came on the heels of a couple of serious injuries. This year you moved it up. What's the difference? Seems to be a younger team, new coaches. Is it more imperative to have that minicamp earlier?
Minicamp's no different than OTAs. So if you guys want to know the exact rules of minicamp, The only thing with minicamp, if you call it minicamp, you got to allow a day to travel and a day for physicals. So that's why we couldn't do anything on Monday. And hours later, so we can have a walkthrough in the afternoon. So that's the only thing that changes. So I look at the offseason as you're allowed 12 practices. 9 of them are called OTAs and 3 are called minicamp. But I just look at it as 12 practices. And I don't think you need 12 practices. I never have. And that's why we've never done 12. I think 11 is the most we've done. But I also like to decide you don't decide that before it starts. You decide that based off of 90 guys. You decide that based off where you think your team is. And by the time you get close to 12, I always like, all right, we've had too much. Let's stop. And that's why I usually end up canceling the last day or the last few days. I still don't know where I'm at, but I don't think our team's at. I don't think we're going to need 12. So I thought it made more sense to move the mini camp up, get everybody here. We'll see how this week goes and see what we think we need at the end of the week.
Do you think Deebo could go through drills tomorrow, or will he stay just watching?
I doubt it. I mean, I'll talk to him about it. I think just, him us not being around each other much, I don't think that's smart for the team or for him. So I know he doesn't. It's not something I'm really counting on him doing, and I'll see where he's at, but I think he'll be all right with that too.
Just real quick, how is it just getting out to the finals, being able to see that?
Awesome. That was real cool. It's my first finals game I've been able to go to and was got to sit close to the coaching bench, which was really neat to see how they all do it, and hoping to see some more. So it's pretty cool.
Down, standing towards mid-court most of the time rather than directly in front of you. Did you pick up any coaching?
Can't hear that well, but it's just cool to watch them all and just see how into it they all are. I mean, it's the atmosphere that you want to watch that I love watching. That it's a lot more fun sitting there and watching it. You can just enjoy your nachos and have a drink and just enjoy probably something that the guys are right in front of me and haven't been sleeping and been thinking about it and waiting for that moment all day. So it's kind of fun to go to that intensive sporting event where you can just kind of check out and enjoy the moment. No, there's enough of that going on.
Steve Kerr, have you talked to him?
Yeah, I don't. We have some mutual friends, but I don't know him personally.
Hey, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Trey, what do you think you've gained most from, these couple weeks here of OTAs and the practice out there today?
I mean, just reps, being able to be around the guys, being able to be in the locker room, around the coaches. I mean, it was big, obviously, to get Brock in the room, new quarterback coach, an assistant quarterback coach. I mean, just being around the guys again, and being around football in this situation is a lot different, obviously, than training other places or, throwing routes on air to other guys and stuff like that.
What has it been like working with Brian Greasy as someone who's been through it and has gone through all this?
It's been awesome. I mean, you said it. The way that he's been through it, not only, helped me as a football player, but helped me off the field with, talking to you guys, everything like that. From top to bottom, he's been awesome. He's been awesome, honestly, role model for me. For him to come into the situation that he did, and now me coming into this situation, I mean, he's got tons of experience, not only, with football, like I said, with just being in the situation and just being a quarterback in the NFL.
One of his first meetings with you guys was he sat all the quarterbacks down and he asked, what's your why? Because that's so important. What was your why, and then what did you get out of that meeting?
Yeah, I mean, we went through, I don't want to get into too much detail with all the guys, but it's still on the board in the quarterback room right now. We kind of put a group together, a list together of why we do what we do. I mean, building relationships, everything, from building relationships to winning, competing. We love the game. But we talked about a lot of stuff, and it was good. I thought it was, the best way to start that situation with him coming in, just because I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know why he took the job. I knew who he was, obviously, and I knew, what he had been doing for the last, 10 years. But just from a personal standpoint, I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know where he lived. I didn't know, anything other than, him as a football player and as a, Monday Night Football announcer.
How hands-on is Clay Kubiak as a coach? What's your impression of him?
Clay's awesome, and I got to be with Clay a lot. He ran the scout team, or helped run the scout team last year, so I spent a lot of time with Clay, me and Nate both, and he's been awesome. I mean, he's, from a knowledge perspective, him and Brian both, we see the game the same, which helps me out a ton. But Clay and Brian are both super hands-on. And I wouldn't say it's like even a 1-2 dynamic at all. In our room, they both helped me out a ton, helped Nate out a ton, helped Brock out a ton.
What's your relationship like with Jake Brendel, and how much did whatever time you guys spent last year carry over into now? And how would you describe sort of the responsibilities you guys share in terms of calling out protections, pre-snap, and things like that?
Yeah, Jake handles it, honestly, for the most part. That's kind of how our offense works. I have things that we can do from the quarterback standpoint, but for the most part, the center's making the calls every play. So past that, I got to spend a lot of time with Jake. Obviously, I took, all my reps pretty much with Jake, and Jimmy was with Alex last year. And obviously, sad I wanted to play with Alex for sure, but super excited for Jake. I mean, Jake's, 3 lockers down from me. We're together, one of the first 2 in every morning, Jake is. And I know he's one of the last guys to leave. So he works super hard, and his athletic ability is one thing I think that stands out about him.
Trey, what kind of interaction have you had with Deebo, either yesterday or today, and just what kind of vibe do you get off of him coming back?
I mean, Deebo's a guy we love to have in the locker room, man. It's good to have him, Trent, Bosa, those guys back. But I talk to Deebo a ton. I mean, even when he's not here. So it's obviously good to have him back. Just his vibe on the field, his energy. I don't think he's going to practice this week, but just having him around the receiver room. A lot of guys haven't met him, the rookies especially. The new guys in the receiver room, Ray and Malik and Keyshawn, all those guys have never spent any time around him. So I think it's awesome for those guys just to be able to, get together, get to know each other, spend some time together, on and off the field. But I mean, him, Trent, and Bosa, I mean, when they're in the building, it's a little bit different.
Reps with him for you detrimental in any way this time of year?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it would be great, obviously, to have him out there, but I understand the situation. And we'll get to spend a ton of time together, this offseason in July and end of June, so not something I'm worried about at all. And obviously, training camp is nothing but reps.
Quarterback coaches did you work out with on your own this offseason, and what little things did you work on?
I work with the 3D QB guys, Taylor Kelly, Adam Dado, and John Beck, and then Quincy Avery and Sean McAvoy down in Atlanta. So I kind of split between those two. Spent most of my time in SoCal this past offseason. But, man, just cleaning stuff up, using my lower half, kind of real similar. But I know everyone talks about the throwing motion and your slow-mo videos and all that. But it really wasn't as much as you guys think. I know you guys everyone has their opinion on it. But for me, it's about getting the ball out, accuracy. Like I said, it's a lot different, working down there, or working away from the building because you're working primarily as a thrower, not necessarily as a quarterback. So there's little things that you change when you get back here, just from a timing standpoint, from an eyes standpoint, little things like that. But it wasn't no major changes for me.
The tightness of your spiral, how you spin the ball, something you guys talk about, or are you good with that?
I mean, it's great when it spins. For me, like I changed my grip a little bit. Obviously, like I said, coming off the finger last time I talked to you guys. So for me, it's like just getting back to reps, sitting there spinning the football to myself. But no, it's not like, yeah, man, if I'm throwing to a good spot, I'm throwing to a good spot. I know the receivers would love to catch it, and I love, obviously, when it comes out great, but it's football.
Shorten it over time? Is that a goal of yours to get more kind of clipped?
Not necessarily, I wouldn't say. I don't feel like it slows me down when I get the ball. Everyone throws different, and I know everyone talks about, oh, man, it gets below. I don't want to get into the details of it too much, but for me, no, it's not really something I worry about as long as I'm playing on time.
Are you noticing that being a year into it, you're more prone to make anticipatory throws? And was that one-handed catch that Hudson made over the middle today, was that did that take a little bit of anticipation from your standpoint, given it didn't seem like, from at least my angle, that he appeared open?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just knowing the offense and knowing where guys are going to be, and having spent, all last year with Tanner, for example. Last year on scout team, I got to throw to Tanner a ton. So you kind of get used to throwing to guys, getting used to throwing to spots, how guys run routes against different coverages, different looks. So I think that's probably more of it than just in general trying to anticipate throws. I think it's just feeling guys.
Last week, Steve Young said that he had 100% confidence that you see the picture, your processing ability. I wonder, have you and Steve Young spent a lot of time talking about that in this offseason?
We got to talk a decent amount, yeah. And I mean, obviously, a guy like that means the world anytime he says anything about me. So obviously, nothing but respect for a guy like that. Everything that he's done, and him having been in this building and played for this organization. For me, man, I'm going to take everything I possibly can from a guy like that. I mean, anything he has to say, anything he has to offer me, I mean, I'm welcoming that with open arms.
How did you guys get together? Like, did you reach out to him? Did he reach out to you?
No, just honestly through kind of mutual people. Like through Jerry was one of the situations when we've talked a good amount. But through the team, team events and different things like that, and then getting in contact, obviously, having each other's phone numbers also.
Is there any one thing in particular that stood out that he's told you or shared with you so far?
He's talked about just being myself and confidence, I think, were the two main things.
There's a lot of parallels between where you are in your second season, where Brian Greasy was, as far as expectations and pressure and everything. He has said, you mentioned media tips, that he felt he was too guarded. And you seem, maybe just natural as a rookie, you maybe a little more guarded or unsure, but you seem more yourself this year, at least in these settings. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think I was like I said last time, I was in a little bit of a weird spot last year. You guys wanted to talk to me, and I don't really have anything to talk about. I wasn't necessarily playing, so I was in a weird spot, I felt like, last year. But that's how it goes, and that was the situation I was in. I tried to embrace my role and make the most out of it. But yeah, me and Brian are definitely different personality-wise, but I think it works perfect in the quarterback room.
All right. Thank you, guys. We've got Trent Williams coming.
good, a little shorter than what I'm used to, but I'll take it.
You played in the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah.
You did play 20 games last year. I think it was an NFL record. You guys played 12 road games. How much of a effect has that had throughout the offseason on your recovery?
I ain't gonna say it had an effect on the offseason, but playing 12 road games during the year is pretty tough, especially when we had to make the run we had to make going down the last stretch of the year. But offseason has been good. Been time to recover. Now it feels great getting back in the building, seeing all the faces, seeing the new faces, and meeting my new compadres in the O-line room, and it's exciting.
I had some ankle, elbow stuff. Did you need any procedures in the offseason to deal with it?
No, I'm good, all good.
What's been your perspective as far as, I know you're good friends with Deebo, it's a business, he's a friend, you work for the same company. Right. What has been your role in just trying to help him kind of navigate this offseason?
If he needs me, I'm here. He give me a call, I give him whatever advice I have for him. But when you talk about a guy like Deebo or any guy in that locker room, he worked their whole life. This has been a dream since he was a kid to get to this position. And, this is his business. This is his dream. This is his career. I'm definitely not the one to overstep and try to offer advice. If he asks me for something, which he has, and we've had, good quality talks. And, I think that he's grabbing the situation by the horns now and, showing how mature he is by showing up. And, I think that goes a long way.
What's Jake Brendel like as a teammate and as an offensive lineman? And for you, I know you haven't been around much this offseason, but what's the process in transitioning to a new center?
Jake is a vet. He's been around. He's been with Coach Furster for a long time. He knows it all. Every center is pretty much the brains of the operation, not just a starting center, but all the way down to, third, fourth string. Only time you usually see a center with issues if they're rookie or new to the system. But Jake is just like any center I've ever been around. He knows the offense inside and out. He's almost like talking to a coach when you ask about assignments and game plans. So Jake is an outstanding player. I think he's going to continue to play productive football for a long time, and we're glad to have him.
You talked about meeting the new guys in the O-line room as the veteran in the room. How much responsibility do you feel for kind of helping getting the chemistry together and gelling?
I feel a huge responsibility. Just to, Coach First is like family to me, just to help him and assistant coaches kind of, it's a big room right now, and there's a lot of young players, so to help them get the players up to speed or whatever they need me for, I'm here. I love helping a young offensive lineman, seeing them come in and just raw, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, and not really knowing the what comes with this job in the NFL. But, for me as a veteran, I think my job is to be around and give them a heads up when those potholes are coming, or help them through a tough time, or, just help them get over obstacles. But, from my experience and just listening in on meetings, being in the meetings, we have a very sharp bunch of guys. Even though they're young, but they're really sharp, really athletic, and they work really hard.
We don't know much about Jake because we haven't seen him play, but I looked up some of his metrics coming out in 2016. He's like 90th percentile in a lot of the athleticism. Does he still have that?
Yeah.
How well does that fit with what Kyle needs him to do?
That's why he's here. That's why all of us are here. To be in this offense, you have to be an athletic offensive lineman. And I think you can look through that whole room, and everybody's an athlete in their own way. And Jake is definitely an athlete, definitely a quick twitch guy, definitely has short area quickness, which makes him a great center.
On that same sort of note, Jason Poe is a freak athlete. I think he was playing like fullback. I don't know if you saw any of those clips, but what's been your impression of him?
Oh, man, the first time he came off the ball in individuals, I was like, damn, who is that? Like, I didn't even see his name on the back of his jersey or nothing. I think I had a bag, so I really couldn't see him. I was a little tired from doing individuals, so I wasn't focusing on who was going against me. But his first step out the ball, I'm like, wow, it's extremely quick. It's extremely quick. He has really good footwork, and I think that athleticism from playing football is going to take him a long way, especially in this offense.
In all your years doing this, how has your off season evolved? Like, what your process evolved, whether your regiments change or with the times? Are there any differences this spring for you?
Yeah. I think as you get older, as you put more and more reps on the body, I think it's you have to kind of take care of yourself a little more during the off season. Have to be a little bit more mindful about how much stress you put on the joints, and because like you said, we just had a 20-game season, and you can't burn your candle from both ends of the stick. So, for me, it's all about trying to maintain what I have while gradually getting better, but not to put my future reps at risk, if that makes sense.
Trey acknowledged to us that he was in kind of, as he put it, a weird spot last year, but as you see him now and the way he's kind of handling his business when the job is going to be his, do you see that in him? Do you see that kind of growth in him?
I do see the growth. I do see it, but honestly, I couldn't tell that he was in a weird spot last year. So seeing him, in the locker room now, optics, I don't really see a difference in him. I think he carries himself extremely well, which is why he's here, why everybody's so high on him. We all know his attributes as a quarterback, but I think his mental, the way he carries himself, the way he holds his head, the way, nothing ever rattles him, I think that's his key feature, and I think that'll take him a long way.
That's surprising coming from someone who's so young.
Yeah. Very surprising. From a 21, right? Yeah, 20. Well, he just turned 22, right? Yeah, so he's just old enough to buy a beer, not in the last 12 months. So, it's very, very surprising to see a guy with that much on his shoulders and see a guy with so much publicity around that position, especially here. To see him continue to march forward and continue to get better and block out all the noise is, to me, I think is phenomenal.
Only one practice today, but did you notice anything different about him on the field?
Yeah, his command, he's a lot more comfortable. You can tell he's worked on his mechanics. You can tell by his release. You see his balls. He's taking huge steps in the offseason. I can't wait to see how he looks when a lot of bullets get to flying.
Is it important for you for a quarterback to take on a leadership role and make it his team? And do you see Trey Lance doing that, or is it important for guys in the locker room to see Trey take that step this summer?
I think if you're a natural-born leader, you lead, and if you're not, we're all grown here. Nobody's gonna fall for for okie dokie, right? If you're not a leader, then there's people here to lead, and just because he plays quarterback, we're not gonna say, hey, we need you to lead everybody. That's what I'm here for. That's what Kittle's for. That's what Fred's for. We have good foundational pieces as leaders in this locker room. So, you always want your quarterback to be a leader because he's the one mouthpiece that you hear every play, and it helps, but it's not mandatory. And I don't think in our position or Trey's position that it's mandatory, but he has the qualities to lead, and he has the qualities where people will want to follow him.
Do you know Aaron Donald at all, and what are your thoughts on facing him?
I don't know him personally. You said, what are my thoughts?
Yeah, just on his new contract. He was contemplating retirement. Now he's gonna.
Yeah, I wish he would have retired, but he deserves a contract. Obviously, we all know what he can do. I don't not know him on a personal level. I like competing against him. Brings out the best in all of us. So, That's what it is.
Trent, there's a woman on Twitter who's drawing Jimmy Garoppolo every day until he gets traded. Have you seen it at all?
She's drawing him?
Yeah.
The same picture every day?
No, Rita Oak. It's different every day.
Oh, yeah? Can she draw?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I like Jimmy, man. I miss him.
Have you spoken to him at all?
Not here in the last couple months, but Jimmy's a lifetime brother for me. I just wish him nothing but the best in the future. He's such a great teammate, such a great dude. So, I love him to death. So, I'm going to go look at those pictures because, I'm always pro Jimmy.
You're going to like it.
Trent, when did your ankle heal, from the NFC Championship game? Was that the word? I know you played with a lot of stuff, but where did that rank as far as toughest injuries to play with?
Number one. Probably, I really had no business out there. So hard for me not to be out there, knowing the position we were in and knowing what we were trying to accomplish. But, I probably, looking back on it, probably shouldn't have pushed it that far because I feel like, I think Colton would have did a better job on 2 healthy ankles than I could have did on 1. In hindsight's 20/20, of course. But, it was hard for me to tell my teammates no at the time. But, looking back on it, I think I probably pushed it a little too far.
And when was it finally right?
Maybe a week before the draft. Yeah.
All right, what's it working like now? You don't have Lakin next to you, so you're gonna be grooming a new right guard most likely in Aaron Banks, if not somebody else. But what's your impressions now of seeing Banks a year into his career?
I mean, y'all seen him, right? He's transformed himself, in a few months. And to me, that's indicative of a lot, not just a good diet and a good workout regimen, but it's mental toughness for a guy to be able to go in and change his whole body composition in, 90 days, so to speak. So Banks, his athleticism has always jumped off the board to be the size of a man that he is. But now, shedding 20 pounds, he definitely looks light on his feet, footwork looks 10 times better, his balance, his upper body lean, everything is like in place now. And I think he's ready to take that big jump from year 1 to year 2. And I'm here to help him.
Anything else?
What's it like having, Mike and Brunskill just behind for those young guys? It seems like they're sort of coaching them up every play. What's the value of having them back there like that?
It's priceless. It's priceless for, a guy like Mike, guy like Dan. They played a lot of football, played in a lot of big games, and they're so knowledgeable. Dan is probably one of the smartest guys in the room. As far as knowing the playbook and knowing assignments and getting everybody going to the right direction. So having those guys is like an ace in the hole. Having any veteran that knows as much as they know and is willing to help anybody, that's an ace in the hole.
All right, appreciate it, Trent.
All right. Thank you. What's the transition been like here? At what point did you start feeling like, yeah, this is my home?
You say what?
At what point did you start feeling this offseason, being around your teammates, that this is home?
I signed a contract.
Well, tell me about the dynamics in the locker room. Have you gotten to, how well do you know some of your teammates and who have you hit it off with?
All the DBs, I'm pretty cool with all the safeties, all the corners. We got a good relationship, tight-knit group.
Seems like a lot of those guys, younger guys, have the potential to be good press corners. How much are they kind of seeking you out and asking you, how you go about doing that part of it?
Right. We all give each other tips and pointers on how we play the game. I mean, all us, we got different bodies, different techniques. So, I mean, I feel like we all learning from each other. I'm a 4 or 5 year veteran now, so I try to give them as much information as I can.
Corey Unlin said that you and Jason Verrett have already kind of built a bond together. What have you gained from just chatting with him?
I used to always watch his game. Like when I was in college and high school, I used to always like watch his highlights and stuff like that. I mean, he's an 8, 9 year veteran guy. Like he's been doing it for a long time. So obviously he's doing something right. So I try to pick his brain as much as possible. So I mean, I'm just trying to learn from him and continue to grow.
Kyle indicated you kind of done enough and you were just kind of shut down. I assume you were okay with that?
Okay with what?
Well, just he said you'd shown enough and you didn't really need to practice that much anymore.
Yeah, we just playing it smart. It's June, taking care of our bodies.
What have you seen from the young guys, Ambry Thomas, Deommodore Lenore?
They great players. They were drafted for a reason. I think they got potential to be great players in the league. They just got to continue to work on their game and learn and take coaching real well, and they'll be great players soon.
During the OTA practices that you've taken part in, what's that competition been like? You and the receivers on the other side, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, and the other guys.
Oh yeah, Juwan kind of surprised me a little bit. Like he got a lot more talent than I thought he had. Like he's a great route runner, and we all know Ayuk. Like he can be receiver number 1 once he put his mind and put everything together. He's gonna be a great receiver in this league. And we got Deebo Samuel once he come back, George Kittle. Like once all those guys come back, the offenses they gonna do their thing. I'm pretty sure.
What is it about Juwan that makes him so tough? Because he didn't test like crazy athletic, but he seems just.
He's a football player. Like he's a great route runner. He know how to work his leverage. I mean, he does what the coaches tell him to do, and he's just a gamer, man. Like once he put on the helmet and scrap those shoes on, he's a good player.
And your impressions of Trey Lance in terms of he's just 22 years old, but he's entrusted with this team. And how does he handle his business? How does he carry himself?
He QB1, so he the face of the franchise, so he gonna show the world this season, I think.
Any similarities to the quarterback you used to face in practice?
Patrick, both of them gonna be great quarterbacks. They light-skinned, great quarterbacks.
Thank you. See you tomorrow. All right, guys.